All right. What's up, everybody? Wanted to welcome everybody back to the podcast with me and Alicia called Between the Two Mics. Today we have an unbelievable guest who I am truly excited to get to talk to. We've been able to hang out with Henry a couple times. Just his energy that he brings is next level. So you guys will see it in the next couple minutes emerge.
You guys are pumping me up here.
Right?
No, I don't know. The pressure's intense. It's really intense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Henry specializes in basically bringing brands to market. So he works with a lot of Shark Tank companies, in regards to their packaging, what they should be doing, just basically getting them ready for the retail space. So without further ado, Henry, why don't you dive in and kind of tell a little bit about what you do and
so
do a better job than I did.
I'm a little crazy in many ways because I have an appreciation for retail product placement, which not everybody has the appetite for that, But we work with a lot of our work is with emerging brands, new brands. If you want to break it down and lay it down, it's entrepreneurs that have a great idea or a great product, and then helping them to get it packaged into light and into retail placement. In an entrepreneur's mind, they're focused on the technology or the formulation behind something really amazing, the form and function. But a lot of times what happens is, how do you get it to the consumer? How do you get it so that it looks pretty on the shelf, it looks good, but the product attributes are going to help sell it. Now, if you're an existing brand and you've been around for years, you can put that on the shelf. You don't even have to have a sign, right? Walmart's strategy is you put a price on top, you put the product on the shelf, and let it fly, right? But with new products, they live and die essentially on, generally it could be anywhere from the first 6, 12 to 18 months. And there are some really cool brands that, are around today, but they probably almost died out before they got to where they are today. So that's really what I do. And I have an appreciation for the look and the feel and the story behind the brand. And the story really drives the go-to-market strategy. So there's a lot of people start with a DTC strategy or direct to consumer, but if you really want to make it, you got to have a broad, placement strategy that goes beyond just a website and selling to consumers and all that good stuff. Yeah.
How did you get into this?
It's kind of crazy. So when I graduated college, I went to my first job was with Staples on the B2B side, and worked with Staples Business Advantage, which was the commercial arm, basically selling to commercial customers. I would say that probably for the 13 years I was at Staples, I was in a retail store. It probably isn't I would never say this bad, but maybe 13 or 14 times, right? But we were selling to businesses. Moved up in the organization and managing business development as well as account management teams, hunter-farmer. And then after 13 years there, went into work for a PE brand in Boston, Idea Paint, as their North American vice president. And it was great because we were bringing a brand to market. I mean, I was working with essentially entrepreneurs that were right out of college, helicopters flying through the office, mopeds driving through. I changed from wearing a suit, eventually phased it down to jeans and that new look, right?
Yeah, natural progression.
The cool techie.
The cool techie look. And I haven't, the movie Intern, if you've ever seen it, I love that movie because it's really about, experience and new life coming together, right? And the power of it. So did that for 5 years. I used to sit there and, as we were working with a product that was, I don't know if you're familiar with the technology, but it was a dry erase coating that you could basically write on the wall and put your ideas. And it was kind of like you were extending the palette of creativity with limitless boundaries. And but a lot of the things, I would see, we got to work with some pretty amazing agencies and creatives and it was really about the brand and the story. And I worked for a individual, reported up to a CEO, John Steffens, he's now at Zildjian right now, and great guy. And he was all about, you got to have a good story behind the brand. You got to have, he had experience with Gillette. So we had a lot of experience. I used to always see things and be like, man, that looks awesome. Whoever did that, that's a great idea, right? Like you nailed it, right? It was either hit or miss, and I would look at it that way. And I'd be like, man, that was amazing. And then, so as I evolved and eventually transitioned out of that role, when I moved on from Idea, it was like, what's the next journey? And I started the thing is, in the space and paint and coating space, I had a lot of connections with a lot of the big players in the space, Sherwin-Williams, PPG, and obviously connections with some of the big retailers. it was time where I was like, you know what, I kind of want to do my own thing. I don't want to go back into corporate.
Yeah.
I like the high risk. I like helping people that.
You do?
Yeah, I know, right? None of it's, but you know, that's the stuff that's exciting for me. And it was
the
one of those
adrenaline
things.
rush.
Yeah. But then we'd start creating brand concepts and stories with products, and I'd look at it and be like, you know, I'd have funny ideas, you know, like I'd think about the craziest things and I'd be like, let's design it and do it. Now, I'm not a designer. I can't draw for anything. You wanted me to be an artist. I can't do it. But ideas and concept and build. And I found that working with creatives, we could really produce some amazing things. And the thing was, it was then that I realized that how colors made a difference and product presentation and the attributes in the store. And really, you want to be the product that stands out. If you're bottom shelf and you're not center shelf, everybody wants center. You still want to make an appearance. And we just started working, you know, with it. And the thing is, started with a lot of paint and coating brands. Yeah. And my strategy was, it was kind of like, listen, we can do for you, or I can do for you in 6 weeks what's going to take you 6 months. Because we had the contacts, we had the calls, and so traditionally I would be referred to as a broker. I never liked that term because it's just kind of it's like a car salesman, right? Like it's kind of like, what do you? But in reality, in the world of retail placement, brokers are individuals that help get product in. They work on the placement strategy. They're compensated for doing that, and we built a model on like, you know, eat what you kill, so to speak. So we didn't want to charge fees and all. It was like, if we do it, we get paid and we get the placement. Yeah. And it was at a time that I was like, you know, there are small emerging brands that need help. So that's how we kind of got into it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So when you take, because there's so many different ideas out there, and for anyone that has an idea, I know I had called you once and be like, I'm painting and I have this idea for a paintbrush. Yeah. And like, you were my resource to be like, that is a great idea, but like, this is why it will never get to shelf, or this is why you should kind of keep exploring it. So for someone that does have an idea, how, like, what does that road look like? Like, how hard is it to actually take an idea and then bring it to a Shark Tank situation, or bring it to someone like you to get it? Because I don't think anyone realizes the amount of boulders that are placed in front of you when you have to bring an actual physical product to market.
A boulder or a mountain?
A mountain, boulder, shit ton of boulders, like all of the above.
Multiple peaks.
Multiple peaks. But they see someone on Shark Tank and they're like, that's easy, right? But it's
you know,
not.
There's a few ways to go. And I would say this, you don't always need Shark Tank. If you've got, you know, if you're, you know, you got $1 million rolling and things are good and you've got the drive and the passion, you may not need those guys. Shark Tank does bring I'll talk about that for a minute and then I'll jump back in. It does bring a level of on-air experience, free advertising if you get there, and free ongoing advertising through syndication. So whenever there's a run on a brand that's been on Shark Tank, they generally see a you know, run on product sales and inventory. It's like automatic, right? But you know, the big thing I see is that you either have something that's great or you don't. Like, and I'm not being, you know, like I see a lot of times a product. Generally what excites us is we'll see something, and when we see beyond, the win for us is that when we see beyond the entrepreneur's view, that's when I know we've got something. When we see something that the entrepreneur is excited about, but I'm like, man, we could put that on steroids. Because we can see it from a level of like, you love your product. Every entrepreneur does. I don't know. It could be the craziest little thing. A one-hit wonder, most of them are. That's how they start. But I think that what we'll see is like, man, we can see the practical application where it could be next to another product in retail that would be a complement to, or it might be a standalone that's solving a solution. But we look at it from the fact of like, we know we can package it, we know we can brand it, and the costing works. So like, you know, if you've got a product that's, you know, $10, you're gonna go. That's the big thing too. Is a lot of people like I'll meet with people and they got this product and be like, oh my god, and I'm like, who's the demographic? Like, who's your audience? Who's the consumer? Yeah. And if your consumer is a small limited subset, say for instance you have a product that's in the, you know, outdoor recreation category, it might be limited to a Cabela's or a you know, sporting goods store or something like that. It could be a little bit more challenging. If you're broad-based and it could be on a national level, where you know, I love products more so, but I go after everything that are non-seasonal, that fall into the category of consumptive, where you got to continue to use them on a regular basis. That's why beauty and care products, I think, do so well, because nobody wants to go out looking like shit, right? Like, they want to look good. I don't know anybody. Like, we do something, like we have, like, listen, if I got to go, but nobody wants, you know what I mean? Like, you need, that's why they do well. Right. Now, if it's an item that's like more of a nice to have, exceptional. So I think what we look at is like non-seasonality. You know, we rank it in a few different ways. Like, first, are we excited about it? Yeah. Then we look at it from like, is this seasonal only, where it's only going to be, 4 months a year or something like that, where you got to be in, out every year, seasonal stacks? Or is it something where like it's going to have an ongoing continued function, where it could get placement, it's going to be, full time? And the obstacles are real. Like, the big thing I see for entrepreneurs, probably one of the biggest things, is the investment and capitalization to be able to package, to do initial marketing and do go-to-market. In a perfect world scenario, we've been successful with it, is we can build a new product, get the initial purchase orders from retailers that want to take a risk, and that covers that initial placement and packaging and funding. Right. But, that's a challenge. Big mistakes would be, don't go package something and then put it in a stack, or build out a display until you know your retail audience, your consumer, and then your retail, because every retailer has requirements on, POP, in-store placement, and you've got to meet to that conformity on packaging.
Now, how do people typically find those, I guess, rules and regulations you got to follow by?
It is tough, man. I think the big thing is, and I would say this, I love the stories that are like, we are in Walmart, we're in, and so when I see these announcements, because I'm a realist, right? I'm like, ooh, but don't pop the champagne till 24 months later, because you want to make sure you don't have buyback, you want to make sure you have sell-through. The most important thing is, but I would tell you that, Chris, going back to the question of like, how do you get there? I'm a believer that you want to try to find, you want to connect with individuals or agencies or brokers that have connections, or if you're an entrepreneur, other friends that have had experiences with, the Walmart or a Target or a Lowe's or a Home Depot, whatever the retailer is, because navigating that, if you don't know the inner workings of slotting fees and costing, it will break you. And to give you an example, success is measured in a few different ways. I look at it. Okay, ultimate success is sell-through, expanded placement, multiple product offerings. You get that, but also success is on a perfect exit. If you are not successful with the product launch, you don't want to go bankrupt. And I think that we've had some brands that didn't make it, but we successfully exited them. And those conversations, I know one of them. I won't name the brand, but I remember the day I had the conversation. I was like, listen, I won't even say their name. I'll say, I'm going to make up a name. Hey, Bob. I got good news and bad news, and I'm going to choose how to deliver it today. The bad news is this, but the good news is you have no liability, because we've been able to get the retailer to mark down the product so there won't be a buyback. A lot of people get hurt because they go in on a placement, but they don't understand the risk or know how to successfully set themselves up for whatever could be, a disaster if it doesn't go well. But, if it goes well, it's not an issue. And, I'm a fan of the underdog, right? So like if you've seen the movie The Founder, if you've seen some of these, you're like, man, it's like years of like not making money, and then all of a sudden it takes off, because it is the, Jim Collins' book, he talks about good to great in the flywheel effect, right? Like once that flywheel is going, it takes off. But there is a lot of battles. But have good connectivity. Make sure you're connected with people that understand the retail environment you're going into, and they know those retails. I get calls all the time. Our specialty is home improvement. And I get people that call me up and they're like, listen, I want to do a deal with Target. That's not where we play. And I'm not going to try to get you in there, because I would never say I'm best at what I do, but I'm in the top. But I would tell you that if we don't understand what we're going into, we're going to be upfront. We're not going to take something on and take somebody down. I don't want to take somebody on a road to something the first time and have them experience our learnings and stuff like that too. So basically,
a brand that's going to market, or not even going to market, but going into retail, really needs to partner with someone like you to get them there. Like I couldn't just wake up and be like, I have this awesome hammer and I'm going to go sell it to Lowe's like that.
Well, you could do it. But I think, Alicia, you would get it done, right? You'd make me look like, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be, I'd be in trouble. Like, like if I was going to a pitch event, you were there, I'd be like, all right.
I have this crazy good hammer. It hits everything.
Right. I would say, so, and this isn't a a pitch on myself or anybody else by any means. I would say that you want to be partnered with a person that has experience in doing it. And that could be a few ways. One could be a traditional broker, right? Yeah. That's probably your easiest approach. But also, if you're looking at going into business with somebody as a business partner or an equity partner, somebody that has the contacts and does have experience, because that could be as valuable, if not more, than a broker, right? Because they get vested interest. Or just a friend or a colleague that's got connections. I think I'm a fan of references are your biggest. I don't advertise. We don't advertise. Like, we get calls, we vet things. We also chase products too. Trust me, if I see something that we really like,
I know. Let's get into that after, because you are like a master hunter at brands.
We look at stuff, and if we like it, we'll call them up, we'll chase them down, and a lot of times they'll be like, who is this guy? Why are they calling us? You know, it doesn't, you know, it's because it falls into the too good to be true. But always, I think it's, yes, you don't go into this alone, right?
Yeah.
And I think like it's probably similar to like if you're buying your first home, right? Like there's always, you know, if you have contacts or somebody you know, whether it's a buyer's agent or friend of a family you're working on it, you know, try to have some people that can help you through the process, because you don't, anything like this as an entrepreneur, this is one of the most important things you do in your career, and it's a make it or break it, right? Yeah.
So when you have somebody that they've developed a product, they're ready to take it to the next level, like what are the questions that they should be asking their broker to make sure that they're the right fit? Because I know with you, like you have a lot of connections, but you have so many different connections in different areas. Like you have Amazon, you know, you have Home Depot, you have, you know, so like what are the right questions that they should be asking to know whether or not you're for real or full of shit, to be honest.
So I would tell you, I can narrow this down for you. You'd want to say to them, you know, walk me through your process, your timeline, what you think about this product. You think you've got a shot at it, or is it going to be? The more honest you are and direct with people about this, the better it's going to be. And be like, do you feel that this is going to be worth your time? Right? Not just, I'm going to take it on and put it in front of retailers and hopefully get it. Yeah. Also understand compensation. And I'm a fan of, I'm going to be critical about this broker network here a little bit. There are people that are like, oh, I need a retainer fee. I need this. Okay. Generally speaking, you really want to understand the compensation schedule. Most of what we do is non-retainer, from the sheer fact of we work for what, you know, we got to retain. Now, if we have a program in place and it's going to take time and we've got a commitment from a retailer, we might take a different strategy, because there's going to be levels of time to get it done. But check the box that we have a program first, whether it be in-store or online. The other thing with vetting them, and I would tell you this, references are great. Good and bad. Yeah. I will give you a reference of a product we couldn't lift. And I think it's good for you to talk to that person to understand what the pathway was for us to get there, and we weren't successful in getting it placed. And I think that if you can have those open discussions, that, you know, it's important. There's no perfect formulation, but you know, on selecting that individual. But I would say this. As an entrepreneur, you don't want to make a bad hire. Like as a company, you can have bad hires, and you 100%. Recover from that. We've all made bad hires, right? We've all been in a situation that we wished to, well, you know.
A lot of learning.
Yeah,
that's what we're just taking
right. And you know, that's the thing that is important to understand. So I think you want to just ask the questions, but really important is understand, you know, how they're compensated, what's going to drive them. Do they feel there's, you know, ask them the brutal, honest questions. So like, what do you think is a challenge with this product? What do you like? What don't you like? And then, you know, references of good and references where it didn't work, because you want to understand, like, and if those references of the products that didn't work were like, you know what, we did everything we could. We felt like it was like, we went back and, you know, got the execution, the resourcing was strong, but we just couldn't get it there. That's important to know too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just, again, for my own personal curiosity, like what amount of products make it versus don't make it?
Yeah.
A lot don't make it. I think the thing, well, the real question is, Chris, is how do you measure success? Like, because products can fail after execution. So some people will measure success as, oh my gosh, I'm going to market. I got a program with Target and Walmart and I'm in. But like, what happens 3 years later, right? I think that, you know, I don't know the percentage offhand, but I can tell you that it's probably pretty high. The other thing is I'm noticing a trend. It's kind of crazy. Recently I was talking to another colleague I work with, and I feel like in today's world, the emerging market craze is wild, right?
Yeah.
Like Poppy, the soda, that natural soda, if you want to call it natural, like that product, a probiotic soda, I guess, whatever. I'm probably not marketing it the right way.
No, it's a probiotic soda. Yeah.
But there are knockoffs, right? But there's everybody chasing that category, right? It's like, I think that when you look at, I don't know if you know about Expo West and like the CPG naturals craze. You go to a show like that and you're like, dude, it's like, wow, there's so many products going for the same shelf space, the same linear footage in the retail segment. And you've got to position yourself to be the one that leads the charge. And that if you're not on the game yet, you can run into challenges with failure or just it not being a product that launches. And I would say this, you got to run like hell because everybody's going to be on you. If they see something that's good, entrepreneurs nowadays, I rank them in different categories, right? I rank them as like true entrepreneurs. They're so passionate about their product. They don't like focus on anything but the product. Yeah. Then you got the entrepreneurs that are like, I've seen that. How do I knock it off, right? Yeah. And then like, no, this is the real deal, right? And then, so like, that's why
what's the third one?
The third one is a company that's like, they're already in play. They want to expand their R&D and they start like launching products on their sub brand. But like, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're still on 80% of your category is and I'll give Native credit. If you know Native in the beauty and care. Yeah. I was walking Target about a year ago. It was with my daughter and they had product deodorants and shower gels and shampoos that are like marketed under Girl Scout cookie flavors.
Yes. Now Dove is like Cinnabons.
Yeah.
So my armpits could smell like Cinnabons.
I guess if you smell delicious, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'd be walking around all day giving you.
But I would have
forget pheromones. I just need to smell like a Cinnabon factory.
You go in. Now you got to get the coffee to go in, right?
Yeah.
But like I guess it works, and I would have criticized that campaign. Like if I was sitting in a room and they're like, I'm gonna put caramel cookies in, or maybe the thin mints I would have went for because that's my favorite one. But I would have been like, are you serious right now? Is this like April Fool's? Yeah. And I think that like that would have been awesome
to be in the brainstorming session. Like,
I know.
Was it a woman or a man that was like, you know what really gets me going? Thin mints.
I know. But
new flavor,
do it.
Like,
right. And you with that being said, it's like you have to be funny and crazy. You gotta push the limit but not cross the line.
Yeah.
And that's where like creative marketing and branding is such a the brand is the product and the attributes and the marketing is the strategy that you execute to get it in currently, right? So like if you're going down the road of a product launch that is just like, oh man, this is our product, this is what I do. It's gotta be flashy, it's gotta be creative, it's gotta be. But the thing is, with the evolution of technology and TikTok and the crazes and the stuff, you have to push the limit. Yeah. And I think that's where, if I look at the brands that are going at it, you got to run fast because if you look at those three categories, you got the guy that's a true entrepreneur that they don't really give a care about what the brand is. Like I'll sit with entrepreneurs and they show me something and they'll be like, yeah, I just don't know. I'm like, don't worry about the packaging. We're going to make this thing look sexy. Yeah. I can, but I don't worry about that. And I'll be sitting there and I might not have the answer that day or we might not have the answer that day, but we know we're going to do good. Yeah. But the thing is you got something good and you've got the mousetrap everybody wants. And that's kind of where you go with it.
Do you know Liquid Death? The water.
Liquid Death. That's unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to his masterclass. You have to. It's so freaking good. But he originally started his one of his businesses in the alcohol. Like he's like, I'm gonna create like an alcohol, or whatever it is, and it failed because there's so like hip, cool, sexy like cans out there already in the like liquor, alcohol, beer like space. And then he started looking at like Monster would have their logo on a can at a show, like a concert. Yeah. And he'd be like, why are these guys drinking like energy drinks like nonstop? And then he sees like, no, it's actually water in a can. It just is sponsored by Monster because they need to get the cans like identified, whatever. So he's like, water, you go into the aisle. It's super boring. It literally is coming down to branding. It's the same shit in all the bottles essentially. but it's the branding behind it. And that's where he's like, we're going to totally disrupt this category and make it like so cool. So people were like, the campaigns are insane that they run. Like they took Tony Hawk's like blood and then they painted a skateboard with it and then sold it. Like, it's just a really interesting, how do you disrupt a category? Which is kind of like what you're saying. It's like, you got to run fast.
I think it's totally, they should bring up a good point because liquid death is like really water, right?
It's water
and,
in a can.
And
really
it's been
cool
repackaged.
Can.
And, some people sometimes, that's another thing we look at sometimes is they'll be like, oh, well, this technology exists today. As a matter of fact, I was having a conversation with somebody recently about this. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, wait till we light this up. Like, and it's crazy because it's really about the brand and the experience and the following. Stanley, it's a freaking, cup, a thermal mug, right? Thermos. Would you carry around a product that said Thermos on it right now? Probably. I don't want to disrupt this, against the brand, but they basically have reinvigorated something and made it better. And I think the liquid water thing is a cool thing because, hey, like, it's water. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, but I'm going to go, these guys are genius because they developed a really cool branding strategy. They had to earn it. They had to earn it. They had to earn their place. Where, you and I could come in and bottle water, but like, if we're not passionate behind it and staying focused on it, that's a
and like having those creative ideas. So switching gears, because you are probably one of the best salespeople I have ever met, and
I've never sold a thing in my life.
No, you sold your brand, and I always think, like, when I describe you, I go, do you know like Mad Men? Henry is like the Mad Men. Like, he, like, the show Mad Men, right?
Yeah, Don Draper. I know.
Yeah, you're Don Draper.
Am I Don? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I do. I think you're Don
Draper. You're pumping me up. I'm going to be driving home with sunglasses on and be like, all right, it's all good.
Yeah, be like, maybe
I'll get a whiskey on the way home. Stop somewhere. Yeah, it's all good.
You're the Don Draper in your space. Like, every time I talk to you, you are on a plane, you're driving somewhere, you're like chasing a new product, you're brokering deal, like you are wheeling, dealing, schmoozing, and building relationships everywhere.
So I think the biggest thing I found is that what drives me is not what drives everybody has different things that drive them. I like to always be kind of making things happen, right? But I think that a lot of that has got to do with me, it's about being in person. It's about being at a meeting. It's about being in front of somebody. And some of the most wildest or craziest deals happened at times. There's a statement that it's in a book somewhere. It's written. So I don't want to take. It's not my quote, just to be fully transparent. But never eat alone, right? And I think that the big thing that I found is, I do travel a lot. Never eat alone. Never eat alone. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And I think that, like, when you're I travel a lot. I'm on the road probably about 70% of the time, right? Yep. And there are opportunities that come up. Some of people I meet that it may not be something for 2 years. And, I've had situations where I'll call somebody up, a couple of years later, or we'll stay in touch and we'll be networking and all that. But it's like, we've got something now. Let's do it. I've got an idea. I think that a lot of the times I look at it from a strategic level of how can maybe a brand alone or another brand come together and then we make something happen and really elevate that experience. Right. But I like seeing things happen, and I'm a very big advocate of, like, let's put something together. It doesn't, nothing has to be cookie cutter, nothing has to be in a box. There's always unique ways of packaging a deal. There's always a unique way of making something happen. We've done M&A deals that are very creative. We're working on a creative deal right now that will be an acquisition that's very creative. I think sometimes it's like looking at the opportunity from the lens that other people don't. But I think, like, you should all, like, I love being out and about, networking and doing things. And people that I work with, they know me, like, as we're there. And I will say this story. I will tell you this. The reality of spontaneity in relation to making things, that's important. So I would be lying if I didn't say that I've been the guy that's flown in somewhere and I happen to be in town for other business, but I'm really not. You know what I mean? Like, but it leads to something, right? And these are things where it's like, got to get there, got to make it happen, but you also it's gotta be a win-win for all parties. It's not a lot of times there's a diplomatic approach to it. It's like, so I have a respect for world issues. I won't get into politics today, but people, you got to look at it from all sides. To make something happen, you got to have a combined effort. Yep. But I think a lot of times it's, I've met people on a plane. I've met people at a restaurant. I've met people in a hotel lobby. I've met, the most craziest things happen where it then moves into an opportunity. Or I've seen something posted online with LinkedIn and reached out to somebody and said, hey, I think we should talk. I think that, the way I'm wired is like, what could this lead to? What's the potential? What's the outcome? Yep. And don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to put a wild, crazy idea out there that could turn into something. You want to do a risk assessment, but that's the thing. And the other thing is I don't wait. I don't like, this is a thing of me I've realized over the years. I don't like think about things for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I think of an idea. It's like, make the decision now. Yes. Bing, this is what we're going to do.
There's a book on this.
Is there a book on it?
I'm also not responsible for this quote, and I don't remember who wrote it. Yeah. But it's like you have 5 seconds to make the move. So if you're like, we should go visit this prospect in California, like book your tickets and like make that decision in the first 5 seconds, because if you sit on it, you're going to talk yourself out of it, or there's something's going to come up to distract it. So like that makes complete sense of like, I don't wait on it. Like I have this idea, I'm going after it, and that hunt.
It is the hunt. We I think that, and then listen, there are stories that I'll never forget that are situations that I think it was 2014, 2015. We're launching a product. I was in this paint space. I flew out to California, had a meeting with a prominent retailer out there in the paint and coating space, and we were asking for a buy-in of $50,000, and they were laughing. They were like, "This is crazy. This is a fad. This is a fad, Henry. This is a fad." And I was like, "Well," they were like, "It's like the pet rock." I'm like, "Well, that's okay." So 6 weeks later, I had asked for a $200,000 buy, and they were like, "Oh yeah." 6 weeks later, we get a $50,000 buy. And a year later at the holidays, I remember exactly where I made the phone call. I called up my contact over there, wish him, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that stuff. And I was like, hey, great year. And this was the first full year following when we did. He's like, I said, what do we do this year? I said, you did shy of $1 million. You didn't break $1 million, but I'm going to estimate we dumped 500,000 into your side, or 400 to 500 based on margin. He's like, no, you're right, Henry. I said, you remember when you were laughing at me at that meeting and all this ridiculous, and then we've had things that are like, I was in New York. We were expanding at the same company. We were expanding the brand, and it was a butt kick meeting. We got our butts handed to us in a meeting. I remember walking out. And it was just not a good day. But you know what? If I had just gone and cried, it would have been over, right? You don't. You got to keep going, And I think that that's the thing that, really kind of has always stuck with me is like, you know what? You're gonna win. You can win a lot. You're gonna lose some. Yeah. But you also there is truth to. Learn from your mistakes, because there's things I would never do again. I won't talk about it, but but there's business deals I would never do again.
So on that same kind of line, what is one piece of advice that you wish you heard earlier on in your career?
I would say, you asked me the most incredible question.
And,
right?
And do you want me to ask you?
Yeah, you got me going here.
All right, so that's one.
I'll be back in 10 minutes.
No, that one.
No, that's a good question, and there's probably many things, not one, but I think some things that I would say is, take the risk. There's a lot of things that, if you check mentally when we take a risk, right? We check boxes in our mind. We don't know we're doing that. I'm just thinking about this now, by the way. I'm just thinking, like, I've checked it. Okay, that's good. This is questionable. But these 4 out of 5 things are good, right? And I think that that's what you need to, like, really, like, if I look back, there are probably some things that at one point I didn't take a risk on, or were like, and I remember somebody had said to me years ago, when you're provided an opportunity, you take it. Like we all have those things where it's like, oh, maybe I'm not ready for this job right now, or I took a job, my first director level job when I was at Staples. I took that job, and it was like new house. My daughter was being born, new career change. The only thing that would have changed, I was already married, was if I got married that month. It would have been like, why not do it all at the same time, right? So I think like when you look at it now, some people would have been like, oh my God, like, I don't know, maybe you should wait.
Yeah.
Don't wait, and I think the thing is, I just go with it, we're working through something this summer that's going to be happening, and it wasn't on the radar 6 weeks ago. It's on the radar now. We're going to do it. It's an intense lift. Probably I'll look back years later and be like, that was a small one. But, these are the things that you got to kind of like, you grab it and run with it and go. And then, some people may say, okay, that's all well and good. I think other things are like, listen to advice from people too. Like, if you've got leverage good mentors, I think, part of my reality is, I don't know everything. I really don't. I'm not that, like, I might look like I know it. All right. But I can talk good. But I need,
fake it till you make it.
Right. Fake it till you make it. Right. But like, ask questions, get good mentors, and connect yourself with people that are good. And if it makes sense to bring somebody into a business deal or as a partner in a business because they add value, do it. Because I think a lot of people always gravitate towards like, I'm going to lift this by myself. I'm going to do it by myself. And I've got some really great people in my network, and I'm very fortunate that we've developed those synergies. And I do lean on them. And, when you're working through different complex situations, I know a lot about branding and strategy, not a lot about production and manufacturing. We're dabbling more with different things in that space, but I have excellent people that buy like robotic equipment and all these, but like they know what they're doing. Like I call them up and be like, what do you think? They're like, oh, this is way, so I think like that's the area that and I look at it the same way as I will be giving people very tough advice that's real sometimes, that I'm like, man, the biggest thing I see with companies getting into retail, for instance, is you don't know what you don't know. And you invest in things that you don't need to, and you make decisions that are assumptive. And I had the same problems years ago. I've learned, we've done things that if I said, man, if I would have done something differently, I would have taken those dollars and put it somewhere else, or done something.
I think we all have, right?
Yeah.
I've done it several times.
Well, no, it's the same. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think like you kind of going back to risk. Like, I think with risks, it's also in perspective, right? Because sometimes you have big risks and you have small risks, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I always suggest to people is that if you're risk adverse, start with the little ones. Like I'm going to give a story with me and you, right?
Yeah.
So we went to New York one time. And we were meeting with a client, and we were having dinner. I'm sure you remember this. Yeah. And there was all this dancing going on, right? And there was people out there that were like legit ballroom dancers.
Right.
And it turns out that they were actually from a school of dance.
Yeah.
And we're all just kind of talking, and you just said, you know what? I feel like dancing. And you hopped up, and now you went. And you were literally just standing there by yourself, kind of dancing. And then one of the women came over and you danced with them. But I remember just watching you do it, and it's like, man, if he wouldn't have done that, like you would have missed out on the experience of having that interaction with that individual, right? So
dancing
I
with
practiced hours before. I took classes. I wasn't going to go there. No, I think, it was. I think a lot of times, it's a good point, Chris, because I think like it's everything. Whether it's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day just about simple things like Waze directions, right? Yeah. And like, why is it going this way? It should go this way. Is there, like when you make decisions to deviate from the norm.
And what happens when you do?
Generally,
that's when you hit the roadblock. You're like, I should have listened to her. Like,
and then you should have, been down that road.
I always say her. I don't know why. My Waze is a female, so
I always follow. Yeah.
Can you change it to a man?
Of course you can. I had C3PO at one point in time, and then it just got too annoying. I couldn't understand what he was saying.
You missed a few things.
I want Morgan Freeman to do mine.
Oh, he'd put me to sleep.
Oh, my God, you're going to take the next left. Yeah. Like, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Alicia, you missed the turn.
You missed the turn.
I told you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be a good one, too. Yeah.
It would be really good. Yeah. Henry, this has been amazing. You left us with some awesome advice. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way is you can email me at H. Lewandowski. I know this is long.
We'll put it in the...
You can put it in the at HL Innovative and send me a note, or on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
That's how we met.
Yeah, that's
so
how.
I took the risk. I was like, hey, I don't know how there's synergies, but like, let's get on a call.
Yeah. So, but that's always a good way. So.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming out and having that conversation.
It's
I
good.
love this. Alicia was like, "You excited?" I'm like, oh, "I can't wait. This is what
It's
I've been
gonna
looking
be
forward
good.
to." Yeah.
The
We
stories.
should do it every week. We'll get together.
Yeah.
Why not?
Henry's now part of
Yeah.
it, in between the two mics with Henry and whoever that other
How
person
do you have a national radio show now? Well, this is how it started. A
Yeah,
little
right?
place in Worcester. We sat down, and one day, and before you know it, we're talking about everything.
World
Yeah, it's good.
domination.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Henry. This has been fantastic. You want to do your closing?
Yeah, I didn't even know I had a closing.
Oh,
so
no.
yeah, thanks everybody
Keep
for
following
joining us.
us.
That's
good.
No,
Yeah.
again, thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah.
And if you guys have questions or if you feel like you want to be part of the show, reach out to me and Alicia. We love talking to different people that have different perspective on things. So even if you don't think you have something to talk about, we'll always find something to pull out of you. So, but
Cool.
is that it?
I dropped the mic, but it's securely
I'll
attached.
push the mic down.